Hello everybody and welcome to Lockwood V2, which you don't know what V2 means. It means version 2, which means in this chance it's a second channel. I've made a second channel. The reason I made a second channel was because right now YouTube has changed. It's turned into more of a production TV style kind of thing, and if you're not doing a series like that, the content just really doesn't get pushed and stuff. And it kind of takes away from your other content. I've noticed that when I put vloggy style videos up on my main channel, the videos for a while after that will be dropped. So we've made a second channel where we can literally just be ourselves and upload some videos that we used to do. We used to just do the random vloggy style videos, and we used to do the sitting down talking videos, and I really enjoyed them as well. And actually there's a video where I sat on my bed and I went over all the cars that I've owned. I've done that video twice and everybody seemed to enjoy that video and it did really well. It got received really well. And there's so much other content that I do day to day, and I could film it but I just don't, because I don't think it's worthy of going on the main channel. So this is what we've done. We've made Lockwood V2 and we're going to start putting those videos on here. So thank you everyone for coming over and watching this. I thought it'd be a really good start to go over the top 10 cars that I've owned and that I love the most, because I get asked this massively and I really think my list is going to be different to your top 10 cars of mine. But anyway, nonetheless, let's jump in. Welcome to the second channel and let's go over my top 10 favourite cars. We're just going to go over the ground rules, and the ground rules are there are no ground rules.
And the ground rules are there are no ground rules.
The first ground rule is I'm not allowed to include any dailies, and the cars have to have been a part of the channel. It couldn't have been reviews or things I didn't upload or cars that I was lent for a week. It has to be a car I've owned and a big part of the channel. So let's get into it. Now, number 10 is the Mercedes 190e, and it's a car I currently own. I did think this car was going to be higher on the list, but unfortunately it comes in at number 10, which is still good. If it's made in the top 10, it's still good. There's going to be some cars in there that you thought would have made it in the top 10 that didn't. It's made in the top 10 because it is a really cool car. You don't see many 190es about, and we've done a really big engine swap. Now, another reason that's in the top 10, I've learned a lot from doing this car. We've made many mistakes and I've learned a lot of lessons, but that's why it's at number 10. I've made too many mistakes and it's annoyed me too much. I've never really got to experience or enjoy the car because all these mistakes that we've made along the way, and it's just still not done even though it's going for an MOT tomorrow. But it comes in at number 10. It had so much potential, but it's my own fault of why it's so down on the list. Number 9 is the S13. Again, I reckon people are going to be saying, what the hell, I thought that'd be higher. Yeah, the S13 is one of the most iconic cars ever, and I transformed mine from this to this. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that. We fully built the CA18 and it was just such a cool car. And again, I learned so much with this car and I've made many mistakes. So at number 9, that's why it comes in. Although it was like one of the biggest achievements of my life, you know, when it come out of Kuba's unit, and it was in the Ruby Stone Red before everyone started doing their cars Ruby Stone Red. I hate people that say I was the version of that, but I genuinely didn't know anyone with a Ruby Stone Red car before I painted my S13. And then like they just started popping about everywhere. And I think it got that bad that Porsche actually changed the name of the colour. It was Ruby Stone Red and then it went to Ruby Star Red. I'm not sure why they did that, but that moment was amazing. But if you've driven an S13, they're shit. They're shit, man. They really are shit. And especially with that one, because obviously it was literally just built to be a drift spec. But then I had that much money and time invested into it. I didn't want to ruin it by going on a drift day. So it was kind of like a car which had potential, but I went the wrong route. And you know, it was like fully polybushed all over and slammed and massive wheels, and it was just horrible to drive. And yeah, I never really took it on a drift day, so it was like a pointless thing. So I didn't want to drive on the road, and I didn't want to take on a drift day because I put, you know, so much effort and time into it, and I know they're only good for value, and I didn't want to ruin it. So that's why the S13 comes in at number 9. At number 8 is the 350Z. Now this is this is crazy that it's actually number 8. And I never thought it would be, because I literally bought that car because there was something wrong with it. I didn't even want a 350Z. Funny story, I actually got that car for so cheap. I can't fully remember how much I got it for, but I think it was for £1,700, which is crazy for a 350Z. And then as soon as it came on the drive, I sat in it, and it's probably one of the only times I've really sat in a 350Z. And I was like, oh my God, this is a nice car. It had the Bose sound system, it had the Brembos on, and it wasn't actually rotten. Now, I got that car for super cheap because the guy actually listed it as a non-runner. He listed it as it's overheating, and he thought the engine had gone. He says that it overheated and it went so hot that he switched the engine off. Now, it's a big risk because with those engines, they do not take heat very well. So if it's gone up on the scale like that, chances are it's going to have, warped the head, or, it's going to have done some damage. So I bought it, and I brought it home, and I realised that the fans weren't working. Yeah, really cool thing with 350s, you can actually do a self-diagnosis test. So you do some things on the buttons on the steering wheel, and it does everything. It goes through everything electric. So it goes stage 1 on the fan, stage 2 on the fan. It'll do all the headlights and the low beam lights and the window wipers, and it just does like a full electrical kind of like bypass thing, so you can see everything that's working. And I noticed the fans weren't coming on, so I literally got a set of fans for free off someone I knew on Instagram, and I put the fan in, and it was working, and it worked. There's nothing wrong with the engine, and that was my first proper drift car, and I absolutely loved that car. I absolutely loved it. I had a really nice NRG steering wheel, and I had nice black bucket seats that were comfy. I love that car. And I would recommend anyone getting into drifting to buy a 350Z. 100%. They are the best out-of-the-box car you can buy, and you can print them up for £3 grand. The power's good. People compete with that kind of stock power. For some reason, the ratios just work really well with the power. Great diff, great drive shafts, great prop shafts, great gearbox. It is an awesome car. The only reason I got rid of it was because at that point, I was driving 2 drift days. And with 2 seats, I could only fit 1 set of tyres in the back. So that's literally the only reason that I got rid of that car. But I love driving it, I love being in it, and that's why it's on the list at number 8. Now, number 7 is the car that I actually got rid of the 350Z for, and it's the Mustang. Oh my God, this is a great story. So I was really wanting to get something a little bit bigger for the drift days, with the boots, so I could put more wheels in. And I was just looking on Facebook all the time, and I've seen this Mustang, and it was rough. It was rough as a dog's ass. But it was a left-hand drive, manual V8 Mustang. You do not see them in this country, especially that year, the SN95s or the New Ages, whatever you want to call them. And it was rough as shit, but I love unique cars like that, because I don't like going to a drift day or going to a track day and having the same car that everyone else has. You kind of want to be a little bit different. So when I saw this left-hand drive Mustang, I was like, oh my God, that is perfect. And I went on the ad, and he was asking a little bit more than what I wanted to spend. But it said in the ad, would swap for a 350Z. And obviously I had no money into my 350Z. So I messaged him and I said, look mate, I've got a 350Z, I'm happy to swap. And he was like, what colour is it? I was like, black. He was like, I really want a black one. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Is this actually happening? We're going to swap cars, and I've never done this. So what we did was, he was all the way from Bournemouth or something, and I was up in Manchester. So we said, what we'll do is, we'll drive and we'll meet halfway, and at least then we know the cars can make it halfway, So no one's losing out. I've drove my car, he's drove it there. Fair enough if you break down along the way, at least you've made it to that half meeting point, which is around Rugby or Northampton or something like that. Yeah, we met up and we swapped keys and we swapped steering wheels, because I had the nice NRG steering wheel, so I wanted to keep that. So we swapped steering wheels, because obviously we both had Boss kits on. Swapped the steering wheels, swapped the cars, and then I was driving home from Northampton in this Mustang, left-hand drive, never driven a left-hand drive car, manual before, left-hand drive, driving back from bloody Northampton in this Mustang with 0 interior. It was rough as shit. The exhaust was hanging off, there was stupid stickers all over it, but it was a left-hand drive manual Mustang, and that was an awesome day driving home in that car. It was rough as shit, but I loved every single second of it, and that's why it comes into this list at number 7. Number 6 is the car that arguably made my entire channel, and it is the R26 Megane now. An R26 Megane is a Renault Sport Megane, so it's Megane RS. The base version is a 225, and then you've got a 225 Cut, which is a little bit spicy boy, and then you've got the R26, which is kind of like their road-going track version kind of thing. So it's got an LSD from standard, it's got really nice seats, you know, it's got better suspension, better arms, and it comes with better brakes. It's a really beautiful car. And this was my first ever turbo car. I could not wait. As a kid, I had a dream of just going down the road and going, you know, that was my absolute dream. And obviously at the time, it's tough to get a turbo car. I was like early 20s at the time, early 20s, so finally got this R26 Megane. I drove to Birmingham for it, and I got a beautiful F1 version in the blue, and it was good, and I loved that car. I loved it. I still do love them cars. They are a beautiful car, and I think for like a bang-to-buck track car, they're one of the best ones you can buy. You know, the suspension setup on them, just the weight balance of them. You know, you've got a perky engine, which always feels fast. It's a bit like the Astras. They always feel so much torquier, you know, than the other 2-litre turbos. And I love the Megane. And I had that for a very long time. And I think there's a bit of nostalgia in there as well, because that's where my channel was growing the most. And I had this car, and I was going to all the car meets and doing all these crazy meetups and, you know, growing up kind of thing, you know, with an R26 Megane, which is an unbelievable car. And I definitely made some mistakes along the way. Some of my most stupid videos of me, you know, snapping top mounts and stuff because by over tightening them. I didn't know what I was doing, but that I really learned on that car. And it's a really hard car to work on as well. So ultimately that led to the demise, because I didn't have the skills at the time to work on that car, because they're extremely hard to work on. I think everything was just breaking because I bought it at the wrong mileage. Never buy a car with like 70 or 80,000 miles, because everything is changing. So many things broke within quick succession, and I just lost love for that car and ended up selling it. But R26 Megane, love them. In fact, I just bought another one. I just bought a 225, and it's on the main channel now. So go over and have a look at the 225 we just bought. It's in really bad condition, but it's great. So yeah, number 6, R26 Megane. Number 5, which might surprise everyone, is the Evo. My Evo, oh my god, ever since I played Too Fast, Too Furious and watched Tokyo Drift, you know, and playing Need for Speed Underground 2. Oh my god, Evo it was my dream car. My dream car since I was literally, could speak, really. I remember having like toy Evos and drawing on them and sticking spoilers on. Dream car. Absolute dream car. And this was when they was affordable. I remember looking at like Evo 4s and 5s, and they were like $4,000. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I really want an Evo 8. And at the time, they were like 10 grand, which at the time I was like, oh my god, but now that's cheap. And I actually ended up talking to a guy called Sherkan. I think he still deals in the Evos, you know. I think he still sells the Evos. And he said, oh, Lee, I've got, you know, I've heard you looking for an Evo. I said, yeah, I want an 8, but I can't really afford one. And he gave me a deal I could not forget. He gave me it for $8,700. And it was an Evo 8 FQ300, so it was a UK one, not a JDM import. Doesn't matter, it's an Evo 8, who cares? And oh my god, the day driving down to Birmingham to pick that up, I think it was not Bath or something like that. Driving down there to pick up this Evo was probably one of the best days of my life. Seriously, one of the best days of my entire life. I just remember driving home and almost crying in that car. Like that was like a huge moment of my life, like having an Evo 8. And I still remember that day actually, and I remember a relationship started because I was struggling to get insurance on it, and then I actually first spoke to Greenlight Insurance on that as well, and they were like, yeah, we can do it. And then I'll speak to Adam. This was I'm good mates with Adam now, but sorry, just had to change memory cards. But yeah, Greenlight assured me, and I remember driving home, and oh my god, what a day, and I had that car for ages, over a year, which is a long time for me, over a year, and I wrapped it, wrapped 3 different colours. And, you know, what an experience that was, having that Evo. And that was funny because when I got the Evo, I started getting so much shit on YouTube, and I don't know why. As soon as I got it literally come overnight. I bought the Evo, and overnight I was getting tons of shit in the comments. Like, you know, and now, like, you know, if you've watched my main channel, I don't really do things the best way. But it works, you know? And everyone was just giving me so much shit for, oh my god, you're ruining an Evo, why are you doing these things to an Evo? And I was like, Who cares? Like, what do you want me to do? Just go and do a video filming it outside. This is my Evo on the 27th of March. It really annoyed me. That really did annoy me, to be fair. But I had an Evo, motherfuckers, and I loved it. And eventually we turned it into this. You know, we wrapped it satin chrome purple, and I had the Evo 9 bumpers on, and it was a beautiful, 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 beautiful car. But the thing is of Evos is keep them standard. If you think about getting an Evo, just keep it stock. I would get an Evo 9 because it looks prettier. Get an Evo 9, just like an FQ300, something like that. Nothing crazy. You don't need to do. And put a map on them, 400 horsepower. Keep them stock. Stock brakes, stock suspension. Just keep them stock because they are an unbelievable car, standard. And when you start modifying them, it takes the fun out of driving on the road. You know, I had mine poly-bushed and coilovers and all that kind of stuff. And you know, Evos are a harsh car. They're a harsh car to drive. They've got super short ratios. You know, the clutches are stiff and standard. They're a tough car to drive. You know, so that suspension makes them a good car because they're softer and you know, it's a rally car. It's a rally car at the end of the day. You know, it's nice to have the stock suspension on there. When you're trying to start making them a race car or a track car, I don't know. I don't think they feel good, and it ruined the car for me. It got a chore in the end taking it out because it was poly-bushed and it was just horrendous to drive on the road. And obviously the super short ratios, if you're doing long journeys, it's like, and it's just like, oh God, I want something a little bit different. So I ended up selling the Evo for like 10.5 grand. Wow, you know, crazy. But yeah, the Evo, surprisingly enough to everyone, comes in at number 5. Jesus, number 5. Now, number 4, I'm going to tie all of them together because they're basically the same thing, and it's the Land Rovers. You know, the Land Rover, I've had 2 300 TDIs and 1 TD5. I'm going to tie them all in together because it's basically the same car. One's just a bit quicker and the other one's a bit newer. But the Land Rover's coming at number 4. This was something totally new for me. You know, I never done off-roading, and I think that's why they're coming at number 4. Land Rovers are just unbelievable to own. You can go off-roading. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. And it just gives you an experience of just having fun while going slow and not breaking the law. Like, you can go down a green lane and it's legal, and you're having a hilarious time with your mates. And also the good thing about Land Rovers as well is that they're just so reliable. Oh my God. Like, every single time I'd go outside, I'd start the key, no matter what the weather, I'd literally drive it through lakes, through mud swamps, and I'd go outside, turn the key off, leave it for a month. I'd come back out and it'll go, and it's great. And it makes you a better driver as well, because, you know, if you, say you're driving down in an Evo slammed with big splitters on, and then you're going down a single lane and the car comes the other way and you don't want to scrape your wheels, you can't drive up the curb, and you're like, oh my God, will you just please move back because I can't go? Nope. In a Land Rover, come on, I'm just going to drive up this house. Come on, after you, come on. You know, and the amazing thing about Land Rovers, when you got them lifted Land Rover, nobody gives you shit on the road. Like, no, I don't think I've ever had anybody flash at me, beep at me, swear at me, nothing. Because you're in a lifted Land Rover, you look like you're going to get out with a baseball bat or a shotgun or something. So I had that experience of just getting in a Land Rover, being 8 feet above everyone. Everyone's scared of you. You know, you can drive anywhere, you can go anywhere, you can chuck anything in the back, you can tow anything. I just spat all over the camera. So that makes it such a good experience. And also, people love the videos. I've had some of my biggest laughs ever going off-road in the Land Rovers. And even if you're not going to plan off-road, even just driving around town in them, it's just hilarious. They're an old car, and you get such a thrill from driving them, even though they're so damn slow. But it doesn't matter, and that's why they're at number 4, because as you can see, the smile is putting on my face just by talking about them. So yeah, number 4, the Land Rovers. The top 3, my top 3 favourite cars. This was tough. But at number 3, it comes with the Soarer, the 1JZ Soarer. Now, what a car. Oh, this is just like the epitome of like Japan in the 90s. People talk about the Supras and stuff, but people are forgetting the Soarers. That was meant to go over to Lexus. You know, so Lexus is basically like, you know, their premium brand, you know. The Soarer basically had a Lexus which was an SC300. So the Soarer had like, it was just beautiful. Like, it for the time. Oh my God, it had like digital display dash. It was just such a cool car. And from the outside, cool car, you know? People don't really know what it is. It's the same chassis as a Supra, so it's a good car, and it's just a little bit different, and you know, you didn't really see them much at the time, and the one that I had was beautiful. The paint was really nice on it. It had these, I can't remember what wheels were on it, but it had these like chrome dish wheels. It was beautiful. And of course, it had the 1JZ, 1JZ, if you're English or American, had the 1JZ, 1JZ in there. And this was before 1JZs went crazy money, and it was manual. So it had an R154 gearbox in there as well, which is literally the super gearbox. So just the driving experience, the noise, the super notchy box, LSD, which worked fantastic. I remember putting the kit on, and it was just such a cool car. And it was just so damn comfortable. Like, it had coilovers on as well, but it was just so comfortable. Had like big leather reclining seats, which were like fully automatic. And it was just such a cool place to be. And I think if I could have one Japanese car back that I've owned, it would have 100% be the Soarer, because it just did everything. You could drift it. You didn't have to drive it like a knob, because it just sounded so good. It was a beautiful car, massive bonnet, beautiful engine, easy to work on. It wasn't rust at all. I remember doing the video of me underseating it. It was like totally rust free. It was gorgeous. The guy kept in a garage while I bought it off, and I got that for $9,000 at the time. And that was a 1JZ manual Soarer, which now you're looking 15, 20 grand for just because it's got a 1JZ in its manual. You can't get them anymore. And interesting enough, I actually sold that car when I sold it, because I wanted the next car, I believe. That's number 2. When I sold that car, it was just coming up to 25 years old. So a guy from America actually went and bought it off me, and he was based in a American Air Force somewhere, and he come down, like, the most American guy I've ever met in my life. He was super nice, he was a cool guy. And he bought it off me, and he said, by the time that I finish my deployment out here, it's going to just turn 25 years, and I'm going to take it out to the States. And he turned up with like $9,000 in like £10 notes. I was like, oh my God. And you really start to know someone properly with how fast they can count cash. So I remember one of my friends, I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my mate was like, what are you doing? I was like, I can't count cash. And he was like, I was just like, But what a car. Unbelievable. Would 100% have that back, which I rarely say about any of my cars. The 1JZ Soarer. What a car. Now, number 2 and number 1 was extremely difficult for me, because I had to choose between a car that had a place in my heart or a car which I genuinely think is one of the best cars of all time. And that's the only way I differentiated between these two, was what do they mean personally to me. So number 2 comes in with the E92 M3. Oh my God. I used to hate, if you remember back in a few years ago on the channel, probably more, I used to shit on BMWs and German cars. I used to absolutely shit on them. And then I had a business called Track Car Giveaways, some of you might remember, and we got an E46 M3, which is like a Nürburgring spec car, and I was like, this is actually quite good. And then a couple months later, we got an E90 M3, and it was a test car for a touring car driver. So it was like perfect spec, like pole positions, big brakes, perfect carbon splitter kit, put the best intake, caged. It was gorgeous. And I remember having this car, and I was like, wow, this is a good car. Just that the engine, like, it's like one of the highest revving V8s. Like, it revs, you can take the rev limiter on, it revs like 11,000 RPM. A V8 revs to 11 grand. Granted, the E92 M3s aren't the quickest things in the world, but the driving experience you get from them is unbelievable. The seat position's unbelievable. They just smell nice inside. They're beautiful. If you look at 2008 M3, there is no way in hell that if you put a plate on that looks that old. There's no way in hell that's a 16-year-old car. It is beautiful. I think it's one of the prettiest, honestly, road cars. I genuinely do. And the diff is incredible. Just the chassis is incredible. The feel of the car, that you get so much feedback through the car. And you've really got to drive that car because, you know, if you're one of these lazy motorway drivers, it is slow down in the RPM. So you really, you know, and the sound, I think it's one of the best engines ever made. I honestly do. And I actually say I think the E92 M3 is the best all-round car for a driving experience under 50 grand. I genuinely think they are. And you could pick them up for like 15 grand. Like, I actually can't think of a car that I would prefer to drive than an E92 M3 that's under 50 grand. I genuinely don't even, I don't even think. We actually had the one for track car giveaways, and I was borrowing it for a week, and I did a video and I did some content with it, and I was like, this is the best car I've ever driven. This is the best car I've ever driven. And the next day, I went and bought one myself. So there's a time when I actually had two E92 M3s in my possession, sat outside my house, and I was like, oh my god, I am the fucking man. Annoyingly, I got rid of it because I thought the grass was greener on the other side, and I bought a C63 AMG, and the grass wasn't greener. The E92 M3 is a better car in every way. The C63 hasn't actually even made it onto this list. So yeah, the E92 M3, oh my god, what a car. Would 100% have one again. It doesn't bring much content to the channel, unfortunately, so that's why I haven't got one. But if I ever quit YouTube, I will 100% get an E92 M3, and that's going to be my car. So yeah, on to number 1. But first of all, some special mentions. I'm going to do a special mention for the Reliant. Obviously, it's not going to be one of my favourite cars because it's useless, but a special mention for it's probably give me the most laughs. It's done really well for the channel, and I've learnt the most doing that. You know, I've learnt welding, I've learnt engine swaps, I've learnt wiring, I've learnt bikes. That's what eventually got me to do my motorbike license because I just thought, oh my god, bikes is just so cool. So having that has opened up so many different doorways for me. It's helped my life in a lot of ways doing that motorbike engine swapped Reliant. Again, the thing is absolutely useless. In fact, I've sold it. I've actually sold it because it's useless. It's absolutely useless. You can't turn a corner in it. So yeah, I actually sold the Reliant. I don't think I've ever told anyone yet. No, I've not told anyone. I sold the Reliant. But the special mention is the Reliant. So number 1 is my E30. Of course it is. Of course it's my E30. It's my favourite car I've ever had. I've done so much to it. Like, every single person was just putting me down the whole way through that car. Every single person was putting me down the whole way. Every single time I uploaded a YouTube video on that, I had so much abuse in the comments. That's not going to work, that's going to work, it's going to break, it's going to fail, this is going to blow up, that's going to break, that's going to... You know, every single video, imagine every single video for 6 months as someone telling you that you crap at what you're doing, you know? And lo and behold, I did it. And it's not broke once. So, you know, just like what that give me mentally and just, you know, like... that on its own is worthy of being my favourite car. But the reason it's my favourite car is because I customized that car from scratch to exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. I wanted a classic BMW because I've always loved E30s, and I want a V8 in it because I love a V8. So I literally built it myself. I spec'd it myself. And I did everything myself. I built it literally from a bare shell to a potentially, some people might say, you know, high-spec drift car. You know, it's caged, it's got fuel cell, you know, it's got all this, you know, it's got everything in it. And every single bolt I've done on myself on that car, you know, everything's been changed. It's basically a brand new car, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm not a huge fan of the colour. I wish it went a bit of a different colour, but you live and you learn. And it's still, even though... if it's my own fault, because I hate the colour yellow, but I thought, oh, well, I might like it on this for some reason. I don't like the colour. Well, I don't mind the colour, but I don't necessarily really like the colour. I didn't have the same reaction as when the S13 come out than I did with the E30. I was like, oh, I don't know, Cooper, I don't really like it. But I love that car. I love it. It feels like 500 horsepower because it's got a diesel gearbox and a super short ratio diff. So it's just, it feels so fast, even though it's not. It's just a standard V8 in there with like 300 horsepower. But the car's just tiny, it's so light, it's so hard to drive, it's took me ages to get it right. But this just adds to the experience. It's my car, I've done everything, it still drives like shit to anyone else who drives it, but I've learned to drive it, which makes it better because nobody else wants to go. And I just love it. To me, it was just proving someone wrong, you know, doing something and just proving people wrong is just something that stays with you, you know? And I nearly gave up on that so much because it was so hard. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Like, I spent so many hours getting that done. Like, I don't think, you know, on YouTube you shorten down things, but, you know, that took months and months and months of a lot of stress. I think a lot of these greys are from that E30. And I honestly can't see me ever selling that car because I needed a kick up the arse like that. I needed something that I can have for my fun, and then I can kind of do YouTube as more of a job, you know, instead of constantly chasing, oh, I want a fun car, and nothing kind of ticks the box. The E30 is perfect. It's small, so it fits in the unit quite nice. It's got a V8, so it's reliable, it's forking, it's fun, and it sounds amazing. And it's a cool car, and it's only going to get cooler because it's a classic E30. And it's a good shell as well, so it's not rotten, so I don't just worry about it rusting. And I absolutely love it, and just, you know, proving everyone wrong was good enough to get it into this #1 spot. But having an actual cool car which you look at and go, yeah, that's sick. Like, that's sick. Yeah, it needs a lot of things doing. It needs the rear suspension, you know, getting to the right height, and we need to get the rear fitment sorted. But it doesn't matter. Like, things to do. You know, it works, it runs, and concentrate on stuff, and I can do that when I want to do it. This was easy. It was easy putting these in the top 10, and it was easy putting them where they were as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you either on the next video on this channel or on the main channel. But I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.